What's going on, everybody? And happy Euphoria Sunday. I cannot believe this is the mid-season finale. We got 4 episodes left. And this episode here, titled You Cannot See, Think of Those Who Can. A very cow-centric episode, which we'll get into in the Rue and Jules and Elliot love triangle. Of course, the Maddie, Cassie, Nate situation. Kat and Ethan. And of course, Lexi just looking at it from afar, writing all her notes down for her play. A lot of great stuff to talk about tonight. I got two great guests. One's a returning guest. Someone's been on the channel, but it's been a while. Excited to catch up with her. It's going to be a great conversation, ladies and gentlemen. I'm so excited to be here with you all. But before we get into tonight's discussion, if you're watching live, I appreciate you. I know it's a lot of great content creators that do a lot of recaps and live shows, and I appreciate every single one of y'all for coming by and showing some love and support, especially if you're watching on the replay. But if you are watching this live, do the cool things of liking and sharing, and of course commenting, for we can have a great discussion tonight. So with all that being said, bringing in my my guest tonight. One, like I mentioned, she was on a couple weeks ago, had a fantastic time talking with her about Euphoria. We had the week off. I'm excited to get her thoughts of last week and, of course, this week's episode. Such great takes on this show and many other things, and has swag out of this world. Talking about the one and only Gabriella. What's going on? How we doing?
The swag is back.
The swag is back. How we doing, Gabriella?
Good. Always good on Euphoria Sunday.
Yeah. It's like I said, we had you on week 2 and had to get you back because this was the midway point. And last time we talked, we didn't know we were going to get so much Cow, but Cow is here, and he's got some truth to lay down on his family tonight, which I am excited to talk about. But hey, Gabriella, do us a favor at home, for those that aren't too familiar with your beautiful content that you put out there on the world from your Instagrams and your TikToks. Why don't you let the people know where they can find you?
Gabriella Angelina on TikTok and Instagram, but my TikTok is full of Euphoria content. I don't think I've posted anything but Euphoria content since the first Sunday. So definitely go there for that stuff. And it's Gabriella Angelina.
Definitely, guys. Check her out. Links in the bio. And again, she talks Euphoria, and it's I'm so excited to talk to you about this episode because there was just a lot going on, and I'm really excited to talk to you, as well as our second special guest tonight. Like I said, it's been a while since I've had her on the channel. She was on our WandaVision discussions. I had the opportunity to join her on her podcast last year, and just excited to catch up with her, talking about this show. She covers movies, shows. She brings all the great stuff to the web that we need, like bringing people up with diversity and what stuff you all should be watching, independent stuff, this, that, and the third. She's so fantastic what she does. So excited to have her on. Talking about the one and only Kristen. What's going on?
What's up? I'm glad to be back. I'm glad to be talking Euphoria with you guys.
Yeah, it's been a while, and I'm so excited to have you on, Kristen. I know you were covering Sundance last week, which I know was like a marathon for a lot of people. How many movies did you get a chance to check out with Sundance?
Gosh. Oh my gosh, it's Sundance. I think it was like 40 something or 30 something. Wait, hold on. I'll bring up the letterbox.
We got to see the letterbox.
Give you an exact number. There was a lot of good movies.
Yeah, I've heard
44. That's short films too, though. So not all of them were like.
That's the dream. That's the dream.
Oh my
that
God.
Is awesome. That is.
I was like, I've watched more movies this month than I've watched in my whole life.
Well, why don't you let the fine folks at home know where they can find those, the reviews and the coverage that you did for Sundance, as well as all the other awesome stuff you do on your platforms.
Yeah, my main platform is YouTube, so youtube.com/Kmaldo. I also recently launched a site, popcultureplanet.net. That's like a jump off of my podcast, which is really all about like representation and inclusion in the entertainment space, and just a space to put, more movie and TV reviews and celebrity interviews. So that's, really what I've been up to. And just, Kmaldo everywhere, KAYMALDO.
Yeah, there you hear it. There you hear it. Links are in the bio. Check her out. And Kristen, since this is your first time on the Euphoria Conversations live streams, just briefly, your fandom of the show, kind of your experience with season 1, and then so far up to this 4th episode, how have you been vibing or gelling with this season so far?
Euphoria is a wild one,
Oh, yeah.
I think this is one of those shows, it stresses me out so much, but the actors, the like artistic direction that they go in, oh my gosh, it's just like you can't stop watching,
Yeah.
Sometimes it gets a little intense, but like there's a reason why, the makeup and the clothes and the actors and everything, like people can't get enough of it.
Yeah.
So
No, I agree. Wild is the way to describe this show, 100%. And up to this point, as far as these first 3 episodes, how have you been gelling with this season thus far before we get into tonight's discussion?
I think there's been a lot of interesting background on people that we're learning about. Seeing all the love triangles is wild. Cal, like, having this like intense story that we learned even more about this last episode. There, I would say though, my favorite people to follow are the friend group. Like, I love seeing what Lexi's doing with like her musical, or
Yeah.
Cassie, and like, just Sydney Sweeney is an incredible actress, like,
Yeah.
unreal. And then like Maddie, like, what's not to love about Alexa Demi? Like,
Yeah.
she literally owns that role. I just think that like the young women in Cat like are just killing it, and I
Yeah.
love seeing them together and all their different stories going on in their fashion, and like just like the visuals, like that one scene recently with Maddie and Cassie at the hospital, like just the way that they set up that scene and them running and the shoes and the dynamics, and they just do such a good job.
No, I agree. It's a well shot, the arcs are great, the cinematography, the score is fire. I mean, it's a lot of great stuff about this show. So,
Mhm.
Gabriella, before we jump into tonight's conversation, we didn't have you on last week. Just briefly, how are you feeling since we last spoke? And how are you feeling about Cal?
I just think like it's one of those characters that you get a backstory and you're like, I want to feel for you a little bit, but
Yeah.
I still can't forgive you for what you've been doing.
Yeah.
It's beyond weird. It's one of those situations where like, is your trauma so severe it made you go this far?
Right.
And
Right.
we're gonna forgive it? I don't know about Cal. I try.
Yeah.
I can't reason with the Jacobs. I just can't reason with them.
It's such an interesting dynamic. We've seen this on a lot of great shows where you have that despicable, hateful character, and as the show goes on, they try to make you sympathize with the character. And I'm right there with you, Gabriella. And we'll talk about Cal in this review, obviously, in this discussion. But it's still kind of hard to I don't want to say root for him, but hey, I'm not gonna lie. The moments he had in this episode, especially the conversation, the family discussion, was something I was here for. And we'll get into all of that. But again, for everyone watching live, like, share, and definitely leave your thoughts in the comments. We got one of our first comments here talking about Elliot's gonna die or OD. Oh, I don't know what Elliot's up to.
Not you, Elliot.
Yeah, not me. Not me. I'm not as wild as Elliot on this show. But yeah, he's an interesting character. I love the actor, but he's stirring the pot. He is really stirring the pot with Rue and Jules, and I don't know if we can trust him. Where he come from? By the way, he was just randomly pop up in school, randomly in this laundry room doing drugs. I don't know, man. Elliot's a very interesting character, but he was in the church. I don't know if that symbolizes a foreshadowing of a character maybe ended up in a casket. It might not be Rue, but let's get into this episode as we open up. Speaking of Rue, of her just kind of explaining her love and Jules and the different motifs and all the classic films that we get here, whether it be Frida and Ghost and Titanic, and we got Beauty or Snow White and Brokeback Mountain. Starting with you, Kristen, this opening here of the two confessing their love and just everything seems so good on the surface, but internally they're just not right for each other. How are you feeling about Rue and Jules in this opening so far?
Well, I thought that opening was really cool because I liked seeing all the different references. Like, that must have been super fun to shoot, especially when they had like them in the Titanic, like, with Zendaya in the wig, and like, I'm sure that was really fun. And I think it kind of also feels like it's sort of, glamorizing this relationship that clearly there's all these like underlying kind of issues with, the biggest one obviously being that Rue's lying about being sober. So
Right.
I was wondering, like, is this what she's imagining as, she's being pleasured, or because she's like, I can't feel anything. So this is just what I'm like imagining this must be like, all of these different romantic scenarios. Because she's like, I feel nothing right now because I'm too high. So yeah.
And tossing into you, Gabriella, kind of going off of that point of Rue and that moment, the intimate moment they're having, which I think she said that was the first time she's had that type of moment with anyone. And as Kristen was saying, her pleasure comes out of getting high. Like it's almost impossible to get like on a level with Rue sexually speaking, just because she has hit the highest highs and she is chasing that high. And I don't think anything physical like what Jules is doing matches that type of intensity. Your thoughts on Rue, and of course, this motif of all these films. And do you have a favorite out of those films that you like there, Gabriella?
I loved it. I love anything that gives me crossover, that gives me movie reference, that gives me another I just love that. And they've been doing a pretty good job at that just this season alone. I mean, even the first episode with the Sopranos references that sent me to the edge. Like, I just think when you do that, it's genius, especially because of the demographic your show is hitting. So it was almost inevitable that everyone would have known those references. But as far as Jules and Rue, this is like I said it last time. It's just watching a dumpster fire. It's just watching it. We're just waiting for the worst to happen, the ball to drop, basically, with the whole relationship.
Yeah, and I think that, we've seen some turmoil in their relationship in season 1. And I think this episode, when they have their little, not more of a fight, it's more Rue telling her, I'm tired of you right now. I want to be with myself, in regards to her telling her not to drink or whatnot. And I think Elliot's going to be that bomb that's going to eventually kind of maybe get them separated from each other. And we'll see how all that turns out. But as we kind of wrap through the opening here, we kind of see again with this relationship with Jules and Elliot and Gabriella. Again, we can talk about Elliot now. Is he a good friend? Is he a toxic friend? Does he want to manipulate the situation? Does he want to pin them two against each other? Because we see him and Jules. They started the flirtation last week, and then they kissed this episode, and it looks like they did a little bit more at the end of the episode. But what do you make of this Elliot individual?
At first, I wasn't really feeling Elliot because I felt like he kind of was a troublemaker. However, this episode, I flipped a little. And the reason I flipped was because I think him seeing Rue in the state that she was and him not doing the drugs, even though they were left for him, was kind of just like an inkling maybe that seeing Rue was maybe starting to scare him as far as the drugs went and as far as pushing her limits. And I think that scared him. So I don't really know if it's more pitting them against each other as far as maybe now he's starting to panic. Like now the panic is starting to set in because it's so uncontrollable almost. So I'm kind of a fan of him now. I kind of think he's trying to do what he can to make it right.
Right. I mean, yeah, it's very, I hope next week, and I haven't seen the trailer quite yet, I hope we get that Elliot-centric intro to kind of give us a little backstory where he comes from. But Kristen, your thoughts on, Rue, or I should say Jules and Elliot, this quick bond that happened in less than from 1 week. She's like, I don't trust you, to now she's telling him about her sexual encounters with Rue, and then they end up kissing. Is Elliot the guy that's going to get these two off of each other's, a love thing that they got going?
I'm not even sure, but I agree with Gabriella. I thought at first for a second, like maybe there's a chance for a throuple, like maybe this is just like where we're going, the three of them could just be together. But I do think that Elliot does have good intentions. I think that he isn't trying to like necessarily hurt or be malicious to anyone, but clearly him and Jules now have chemistry and some kind of connection. And I think regardless of whether he intends to or not, I think things are going to blow up because like he and Jules are, hooking up now, and Rue doesn't know about it. And I wonder like if that's something that they'll be able to keep a secret for a while or how that's going to go, because the end of the episode kind of made it seem like Rue might not be able to do anything for a little bit. I don't know. I guess we'll get into that a little later, but there might be things more important to focus on than even the two of them hooking up when it comes to what's going on with Rue.
Yeah, he's been holding the secret so far. He let one of the secrets out, but I wonder, like you just said, how long he's going to keep that secret from Rue, because he couldn't hold much longer to keep Jules, because the closer he got to Jules, the more he felt like he had to tell her the truth. So it'll be interesting to see what comes of that. But speaking of truths and toxicity, we got Cassie and Nate, Gabriella, as she's going through her mind of all the past hookups they've had, and we see the best friends. She were celebrating Maddie's birthday in a perfect fashion, with Cassie blowing out the candle, giving her the candles, giving her the gift and all that stuff. And we noticed Lexi in the background just observing this whole situation. It's Maddie's birthday, Gabriella, and we see Cassie gifting her best friend this gift, and it's just like the true friendship nature is just like, Cassie, you're doing a lot. You're doing a lot.
The first thing I thought when that happened, I said, why such an emotional gift when you're doing what you're doing?
Exactly.
You give a scrapbook with all your memories after this, after what you've done. I just, in the back of my head, I was like, you could have gotten her like a purse and this would have been less stressful. But what you did was you stressed everyone out because you're giving her such a momentum of your friendship. Why? No, there is no friendship. It's all in your head. Everything's all in your head at this point. Like Cassie and Cal were giving me twin energy this episode. Twin energy. I was like, you guys are on the same mental playing field. That's not good.
Yeah. 100%. I think if Kyle would have met, Cassie in high school, they would have been the perfect fit for each other. Well, but maybe that explains why she's so into Nate, because it's just something about the Jakes that just gets Cassie going. But Kristen, your thoughts again on this friendship? Like, Maddie is just she loves Cassie, vice versa. She gives her this gift, but we know the gift she should have gave her was the truth, but she didn't quite get there. But your thoughts on this birthday celebration with Cassie and Maddie to open up this this particular portion of the show?
Oh my gosh. Yeah, Cassie, why is she's doing the most in all aspects, and I think honestly the birthday party is one of my favorite scenes though, because like I said, I love seeing the girls all together, their fashion and everything that's going on, and I love how they interact with each other because like Maddie, I love what Nate said about her earlier in the episode, where it's like she's smart and she's cruel, but like not really. And I think we really see that, where like she's kind of a little bit like the mom of the friend group. She's there for Kat when she's like, how do I know what I want? She tries to be there for, her friends, and doesn't know obviously that like Cassie has this like huge secret and betrayal for her. And, I think Cassie, just has a lot of guilt going on. Maybe that's why she was like, let me do the most with this birthday present, because like I need to make up for everything that I'm doing right now. And it's all the guilt coming out.
Literally, it came out later in the episode, and in a physical, tangible moment that we'll get into, which that scene was just hilarious. But we get into Cassie, or to say Nate having this conversation with Maddie in regards to, did you ever feel like I loved you? And him slowly but surely trying to work his way back into this relationship, which, Gabriella, last week we were kind of speculating, do we think Nate is trying to get back with Maddie because he truly does miss her, or is his objective is to still get that tape? What do you think about that relationship and how he's slowly but surely trying to work his way back into goodwill with her character?
It was probably a little bit of both.
Yeah.
Until that hot tub, because for some reason that moment that, and I'm sure we'll talk about it, but that moment that happened in that hot tub with Maddie attacking Nate and the conversation that went on, I think for him was more of like a, oh shit, here we go again. Like, here we go again.
Song and dance.
Back into this nightmare that is just not good. It's just not going to work out no matter how much I wanted to. But I think in the back of his head, 100%, that tape is there. It's a major playing point for everything that he is going to do.
Yeah, I 100% agree with you, Christian. Is your thoughts on Nate trying to get back with Maddie in this episode, or not yet, as he says in the hot tub, which I can't wait till we talk about that scene? Is that his intentions, or does he truly miss Maddie? Again, with Cassie trying to be her best version of Maddie last week, not working out. Do we think Nate is really trying to get back with her, or is it just a Nate being Nate?
I hadn't even thought about maybe he's doing it for the tape, which makes sense.
Yeah.
I think it's definitely both now that you guys have said that. But I do think that like the two of them have sort of forgotten how bad things have been in their relationship in the past until we see that moment when they're fighting again in the hot tub. Because even I kind of forgot a little bit. I was like, what happened with them again? Like, oh, well, obviously seeing Cassie, but like, you even hear Maddie all the time being like, well, did I make a mistake? Was it really that bad? And I'm like, yeah,
Right.
I don't even remember now. And I think
it was
when
bad.
they
It
show
was.
us that moment, it's like, oh yeah, look at how they are together, where like,
Right.
they pop off so quickly.
Yeah.
I do think that he does really love her. But I don't know. Is their love like what is that really? Like, is that
Right.
real love, or is it that everyone just loves the drama?
Yeah.
It's like they have nothing else to do, so like let's be in all this drama together.
I can't remember verbatim what Maddie was saying to Jules at the bowling alley, but it was something in the lines of like kind of being intoxic. Like maybe that's just
Yeah.
who we are. Gabrielle, you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, we just
I remember exactly what you're talking about. She
Yeah.
said that Kat and I always forget his name.
Oh, Ethan. Yeah.
I'm so Ethan.
The third
Ethan
wheel,
hasn't been
fourth
doing well.
wheel, fifth wheel.
Ethan hasn't been doing well. It was when they were in the bowling alley, and she said, "I don't know if like a sweet relationship would ever be enough for me, because it wasn't
Right.
there wasn't enough darkness in the happiness that they were having." Her Kat.
And look at Kat, right? Kat is like, I have this guy. There's on paper nothing wrong with our relationship, but like maybe she just wants the drama and someone that's a little bit more, I don't know, forceful than like this sweet guy Ethan, who doesn't really, do much.
It's a lot to be said about these characters. You look at Maddie, how she was raised, her mom and dad never talk. And, obviously Nate's mom and dad, obviously they were, a little bit more excited when they were younger. But yeah, I think they have grown up seeing this toxicity, and now they're just kind of, this is how they're living their lives in a relationship. So it's always interesting to see these characters. But speaking of toxicity, Nate and Cassie here. Kristen, they have their argument here, and as Nate accidentally calls Cassie Maddie, and I've been in my fair share of fighting with my loved one, and a scary thing you can be told is, okay, I'm fine, and just the calmness in Cassie's moment just spoke. That was scary to me. That was one of the scariest scenes of Euphoria, because it was just the calm before the storm, and she's like, "Oh, you think Maddie's crazy? I'm crazier." As you all said up top, Sydney Sweeney is killing this season, and this scene is just like when they have the Emmys package, when they show the clips before they they announce the winner. This is Sydney, her moment here when she's it's all in the eyes. Kristen, your thoughts on this argument that just went left, right, up, down, and all around?
Oh my gosh. Again, here we go, more toxicity, more drama. I'm like, is Maddie, is Kat, oh no, see, I called her Maddie too.
And she's
gonna be like, okay, and walk away. No, like, is Cassie like really gonna do something? That's what I want to see. Like, I thought maybe at the birthday party when Nate showed up, I thought she was gonna like maybe actually say something or do something.
Yeah.
Maybe she's just biding her time and is like, all right, Nate, like, I'm still pining over you, but like at any moment this is gonna happen, so like be ready. I just think another amazing Sydney Sweeney performance.
Yep.
He's, like you said, she's killing it, and it's a little scary. Like, but also I wonder, like Nate has like this stuff with Cassie and Maddie, but like what happened with his stuff with Jules? Like, is that going to come back up? So far they haven't like touched that at all this half of the season. So
yep.
I'm curious.
Very curious, and that was actually something I had in my notes here in regards to some of the characters I feel like are just kind of stuck in a rut, or kind of meandering through the season. Jules and that Tyler Nate situation last year has kind of been forgotten about, but Gabriella, this scene here, there's so much to take away from it, from her blackmailing Nate in a sense, which Nate knows all about blackmailing, what he did to Tyler last year, to she saying that you guys are toxic and I will do everything in my power to make sure that you're not, together, which is a good thing, I guess, in a weird way. And then just her calmness, so like, okay, I'm fine, and walking away. Your thoughts on this scene, Gabriella?
Perfection, absolute perfection. I mean, I feel like we've all, especially girls in high school, like you always had the one guy, that one guy you always remember gaslighting you. And I just feel like for all those girls that have been gaslighted, this scene was just like, this was it. like, I'm coming for you. Like, you're gaslighting me. You're telling me one thing, you're telling her another.
Yep.
Just know you're on borrowed time, babe. Like, I just felt like she was like, okay, yeah, no, you just, whenever I say it's over, babe. And I loved it because I don't think we've ever seen Cassie stand up to a guy like that before, ever.
100%. Yep.
And we had the, she was with a bunch of guys. She loved being loved, but we never saw a defensive side to where she would be aggressive towards another man, like any man.
Yeah.
I also loved when he said, "I love you," and she was like,
she kind of, did she smile a little bit? Did she smirk a little bit? Did I catch that wrong? It's kind of like, okay, yeah, I got him wrapped around my finger.
I got
exactly,
you.
I got you wrapped around my finger. Yeah, that scene just speaks so much volume to, like you said, Gabriella, just her the first time, like you said, that we can ever think of her like standing up. Which I don't know, does she love Nate? Is that her way of like she's so like involved that she speaks up for? I don't know. It's so weird between these two, especially seeing Cassie in this moment. But again, that scene to me was just it reminded me of high school. It reminded me of high school for sure. And even my adulthood, some, just petty, silly relationships. And when someone just walks out on okay, yep. You're like, oh, I'm in trouble. I'm in trouble. It's not a game anymore. But that scene between those two were absolutely fantastic. And I'm really interested to see when Cassie finally admits that she has done the deed with her best friend's boyfriend. That will be a scene to be talked about for many, many weeks to come. But quickly, we don't get a lot with Lexi in this episode, but the moment that we do get with her kind of still shows that she's still in the back writing all her notes down for this play, which I don't know if the play will be like a season finale type of episode where everyone sees from her perspective of what went down. I don't know if that's the moment where Cassie and Maddie will have their standoff. Your thoughts on Lexi so far, Kristen, and what we've gotten for the character and this whole scene between reality and the play where, we see Cassie saying she's being judgmental or whatnot, but your thoughts on Lexi, what we got with her this season and in this episode in particular?
I love it. I love all this stuff with Lexi and her musical that she's putting on and how it's like her and her life with her sister and just the way that she views everything. It's so fascinating to me. One thing I think this episode was missing was more Fez and her together. I don't know why, but I really like them. I feel like there's something really nice brewing there, and I hope that they like actually do something with it.
Yeah.
Because he seems like one of those guys that like, he might be a little rough around the edges, but like he's smart and he like likes a smart girl.
Yeah.
And I really want to see the two of them together. But yeah, I love the musical. I love seeing like, especially last episode where they really showed a lot more of it. I was like, this is so fun. I really like how they've been like breaking out of like the regular story in the season and kind of like giving us like these really artistic or really like different moments, like talking to the cameras and like, kind of doing that like mockumentary style a little bit in that. I think it's so fun.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you. The Lexi and Fez stuff. I hope we get more of it. I don't know if they were alluding to Lexi and Ethan maybe being something with him being in the play now. I don't know who he's going to play in the play, but especially if Kat does cut ends meet, I think that might be something to explore. But Gabriella, your thoughts on Lexi? We didn't have you on last week, but the Lexi Howard show, when is that spinoff? Can we get that spinoff sooner rather than later? But your thoughts on her and again, this play that she's writing is going to be the talk of the town at the school once that play comes to production.
The Oklahoma situation in the bathroom sent me. I think that was absolute. It was just legendary the way that all went down. Lexi's the entire mockumentary moment. That was perfection. And I don't think I would have ever guessed that Euphoria would do it because I think after the first season, you kind of assumed that it was going to be it was definitely going to be dark. We knew it was going to be dark, but it wasn't going to have these elements.
Kind of comedic moments. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So this made me really like, I love the whole moment. And I also think it's just clever. Their transitions in the way that they go from like the way they went from the mockumentary back to the storyline was just Rue in that chair speaking. And then it went from her speaking to the narration. It's just, I thought it was absolutely genius. But with Lexi, I don't know. I like Lexi and Fez, but part of me just doesn't think she's built for that life.
Yeah, especially after what Fez finds out this episode. I don't know if a war is coming to Fez's front door. Him and Ashtray is going to have to get the guns and the hammers out for whoever this female or this fiance of Mouse is. We'll see. We'll get to Fez a little bit later. But Parents of the Year. Susie Howard and Kyle Jacobs. We got Susie just letting the kids be loose. I don't know if, I don't know. I shouldn't be saying. I have a friend that reminds me a lot of Susie Howard. She would allow us to have fun at younger ages, which we shouldn't have been doing some of the things we were doing. But Susie, she's like, hey, I ain't gonna be one of those parents. My kids are gonna be sneaking around, running around, even though little does she know her daughter is going through a midlife crisis at the age of 17. But Gabriella, we got these parents here, but more particularly, Cal is he's letting loose. My man Cal is drinking up a storm and talking to Nate and calling him this, that, and the third, and winning all the victories. And what did he call him here? Winner, Mister Mister Big Balls, this, that, and the other. Your thoughts on these parents and how they're parenting their kids, but in particular, Cal is just he's ready to go and turn to himself in this episode.
It's funny because with parents, you're like, oh, terrible parents. And then you're like, you can't blame the kid. The kid comes like, is like really horrible and how to deal with this. But then you have people like Nate. And you're like, no, you can blame the kid. But Cal, I think this was just a situation of it was going to happen. This was inevitable. And just too many things are falling apart around him.
Yeah.
For him to mentally live these two lives, get away with all of it. And I think once he knew Nate knew what went down, it kind of all went down the tubes as far as him being this perfect dad and the perfect town and all the money, all that entire idea, that narrative was gone because now your son knows what you're doing, who you're doing it with, and your secret isn't your secret. So I just think I think God loves the Jacobs because anybody else who's in a car like that, not making it. So I don't think good things are coming for him. That's it. I just don't think so.
Yeah, and there's many more Cal moments we're going to get into, but Chris in here, again, the partying from Susie allowing the girls to have a good time at the party, as well as Cal just kind of letting loose. And like, Gabriella said, I think once his facade, his second life was revealed in front of Nate, like she said perfectly, the gates were let loose, right? He can now kind of, his whole, who he thinks he is to the outside world has now been broken. And he's ready to let loose and get drunk in this episode. And he gets pretty tipsy.
Oh yeah, I mean, like you said, Gabriella, I don't know how he made it home. I was just like, how is he alive right now? But these parents, this is where the kids come from. Everybody's toxic. Everybody's got all this trauma and drama.
Yep.
I mean, I guess was Mrs. Howard being sort of responsible, but being like, drink
they're not at a bar.
No,
I can control them. They're here. One hand on the wheel, I guess.
I mean, at least, like Cassie's home. So, when everything kind of goes bad, it's like, just take her upstairs, let her sleep it off. But yeah, I mean, maybe not the best choices. And you could kind of see maybe why everybody is dealing with so much drama, because their parents, I mean, who knows what they dealt with. I mean, I guess it just shows that what is that, like, generational trauma?
Just going from one generation to the next.
It's still going, and try to get out of it if you can. Cast of Euphoria, jeez.
Just quickly, Gabrielle, who is the best parent in this show? If you were to put an award to the best parent, who is the best parent in the show? I'm trying to think about who I think it is.
Jules' dad.
I
wanted to say Rue's mom, but I think
it's like
a lot of them
aware.
Why does Rue still have a door on her bedroom? Like her mom's kind of lackadaisical.
I think she kind of like she's way too trustful with Rue. I mean, if I had a daughter that came home from rehab, I don't think I'd be like, yeah, you can sleep out. Like, no, you can't sleep out. So I think I would say sad, just because even in the first season he was so attentive to her, like wanting to meet Rue, and I think even just saying you're going to therapy is that's a major green flag on a parent. I mean, just saying, I know you're going through something, you have no choice, like you're gonna go, this is gonna help. I think I would say Jules' dad for sure.
I think I might steal that answer. Kristen, is there another parent out there that you would say, is doing a good job with these kids?
I would go with what you guys said, but also Ali, right? I mean, you didn't always start there, but he
Yeah.
has grown and is
Yep.
trying to help Rue as well. And
Mm-hmm.
you know, again, I one of those people, like I said, has dealt with a lot of trauma and issues, but is
Yeah.
trying to do better and help
Mm-hmm.
other people, even if Rue won't really let him. But
Right. Right. Ooh, I would love randomly once you bring it up Ali. I would love like a Ali backstory, like kind of like
100%.
Fez situation and seeing where he came from. That would be, especially with Coleman Domingo, who's fantastic. I would love that. So, Sam Levinson, can we get that this season, next season, an Ali a beginnings intro episode? But going back to the Rue and Jules and Elliot situation, they have no shame in their game. Rue's in the bathroom getting high as hell, doesn't know what's going on in reality, while they're just kissing on the bed. And this is where I start to question Gabriella. I know you mentioned earlier about his intentions, but him playing this whole truth or dare, knowing that he's kissed Jules, he's like, "Hey, Rue, let's make Jules jealous." What is this man doing? I don't know. And then he kisses Rue, and he goes over and licks Jules' stomach. And then again, you mentioned earlier when him going in the bathroom, not doing the drugs, is that him again not going down that path as Rue? Is it him trying to be a better person for Jules because he knows that she doesn't like that Rue does drugs? I'm so curious about his true intentions. But your thoughts on the sequence with these three playing truth or dare?
I think high school students do stupid things, but I do think
Yeah,
I don't
very
know if
true.
it was Elliot necessarily is trying to stir the pot. I kind of think Rue and Jules used him as a pawn in between them in that moment, that particular moment. They were kind of using him, if anything. But I just think the Jules and Elliot thing when Rue went to the bathroom, I don't know if it's malicious or it's they're just having fun. And I think
Yeah,
Elliot strikes me as one of those characters that's like, it is what it
just
is.
goes with the flow. Yeah,
Yeah, like,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
cool, I'll do that, like, and say nothing to anyone ever. Yeah, cool. I just that's kinda what he strikes me as, so it didn't surprise me, and I kinda just think that they were just like, who can get who jealous? It was just he was the pawn though, so
Kristen, is he indeed the pawn, or is he the king playing all the pieces between these two? And just kind of how you feel about this character so far, and in regards to trusting him, and is the whole thing of him not doing drugs? Is he playing along with Rue, thinking that he's high at the same time? Is he trying to be a better person? What are you thinking about Elliot in this whole three-way situation?
well, I thought in that moment that it was really Jules actually trying to kind of take over that moment because she was the one saying to Rue, "Oh, see, I dared you. You have to kiss him." And so I was thinking maybe it was one of those things where like she's like, "I know I kissed Elliot, so so if Rue kisses Elliot now, it's sort of even." And so like if anything ever comes out, I could be like, "Well, you kissed him too," kind of thing. Like it was just for fun.
Yeah.
Because really it was Jules who dared Rue, and like the minute he
Right.
came in, she was kind of like, "Hey,
Yep.
gonna kiss
Yeah.
it now." Um, so I was thinking of it as that, as like maybe Jules is like, okay, well, if I can get them to kiss and like kind of, set up this whole situation, it won't seem as bad if it does come out of like whatever's going on with me and Elliot, or
Yeah.
that like I could get all three of us together and like maybe the three of them could be in a little throuple. That's
Yeah.
what I was thinking she was trying to do.
I think you might be right on all that. Which just kind of a side bar with the Jules. How, Gabriella, are you enjoying Jules so far this season? Again, last year the Tyler and Nate situation was her main kind of plot, and that was something that still she thinks about. If you all, the special she mentioned, she's still in love with Tyler, the idea of Tyler. But then obviously this season is just kind of like, and Kristen brought it up earlier. What is the situation with her and Nate? Is it going to be addressed this season? Is Jules kind of a character that just feels a little kind of not definitive in her narrative so far this season? How you feeling about her?
yeah, the season is a little weird with her. I
Yeah,
also found it weird that we went from her and Maddie outside of a bowling alley having like these friendship conversations and these moments with each other, and then
yeah,
Maddie has a birthday and then she's not there, which I
right,
thought was a little like out of pocket, kind of strange, especially because you were building on the friendship, and I was really excited to
yeah.
kind of see how it would unravel itself.
I agree.
It almost feels like Jules is kind of all over the place because on one end, I feel like she wouldn't from last season that Jules wouldn't have been so naive with Rue on drugs. It's
Yeah,
not like she's completely selling it. It's in her head that she's selling it, but I just feel like I don't know. She's like scattered kind of for me. She's all over the place. One minute
yeah,
she's great, she's striving and then the next minute we're falling. So I'm not sure about her this season at all.
Same with I'm in the same boat with you, Kristen. How are you feeling about? Because again, I thought Jules was one of the most fascinating characters last year, especially her tragic backstory that we got with her and her mom, and learning her mom was an addict in the special, which kind of ties into why she feels so strong about Rue not doing drugs because she's lived that life with her mom and having that resentment. But this season so far, I don't know what to make of what is the I don't want to say end game because we're only halfway through the season, but where are we going with Jules this season?
Yeah, I think that's a great point about why wasn't she at the birthday party? Like, why wasn't Rue there too? Because Rue's friends with Lexi. Like,
Right.
they were very like separated, and I do like when they're all kind of doing stuff together, and I
Mhm.
feel like this season I'm more drawn to the stories that like are of the girls versus, you know, Jules and Rue and Elliot. Like, I kind of, as I was going through this episode, was a little bit like, I don't know if I really care about this. What is happening? Like,
Yeah.
I would rather see like that story of like this group of friends and their dramas versus like, you know, just Jules like Rue or Elliot
Yeah.
kind of thing. Like, why is she being so naive about Rue's drug use? Like it feels like it's not really going anywhere right now.
Yeah, and I hope and this kind of brings me to my next point that we got a little bit of Kat in this episode with her telling Maddie that she is tired of Ethan. He's great on paper, but it's just not vibing. And I hope she tells him next week for he can just move on with his life, or maybe with Lexi potentially. But the rumor was, and it's been brought up in the last week or so, that I guess the actress Barbie had a little bit of an issue with where her character was going this season. And apparently she walked off set. And I don't know if that rubbed Sam Levinson the wrong way and kind of wrote her not as involved in this season. And if that rumor is to be true, it's starting to look that way. Because Gabriella, we get a little bit of Kat last week, a little bit of Kat this week. And it seems like we're another character that doesn't really have a definitive route of where they're taking her. But your thoughts on Kat, and if you think there's any weight in this rumor that's going around with her not being as involved in this season.
I don't necessarily know if that's the reason, just because even just like Lexi, I mean, we barely got Lexi at all this episode either. We barely got Fezco this episode. So it could very well be maybe that situation where it's just they're, setting us up for other things.
Right.
I think with like the whole rumor situation with Sam Levinson, I work in production and I think you don't know unless you're there.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of things get lost in translation when it comes to things came out or whatever the case is. If by some chance it's true, that sucks. And I hope it's not true.
Same.
But I don't know. I don't always believe that stuff because I think that sometimes things just get misconstrued. And I also think not everyone's meant to like everybody. So
True.
They may just have creative differences and it's going to happen. It's going to happen. It's bound to happen.
I agree. Yeah, 100% agree. I hope the rumor isn't true. I mean, you hear a lot of this stuff all the time, and it's, everyone this is a popular show. She's a very big following, and she has a very important storyline. I think self-identity is a great topic to bring in today's society. So I think she has every right to be like, yeah, let's shine a light on this a little bit more. But Kristen, your thought on if you've heard of this rumor, your thoughts on that, but then particularly when she has this moment with Maddie and saying that she's tired of Ethan, should she just just pull the Band-Aid off now? Because he told her last year at the dance, hey, if one of us is going to get hurt, let it be me. So I guess that's going to be the case.
I don't really know much about the rumor. Like Gabriella said, if we're not there, we don't really know. I do think that she hasn't had as much to do as last season, but also I thought last season Lexi had nothing to do. Like, I forgot she was in it at some points. Like, I think she's done more already in this season. And so it could be just like certain people are getting certain storylines and that's the focus. And then we're also like, this is the mid season, right? So maybe I really felt like this episode, everything was coming out. This was like a big catalyst episode where like things are changing now. Like, so I could see like the next 4 episodes being like, okay, now we are diving like headfirst into everything. So like maybe that we'll see Kat being like, actually I don't want to be with Ethan anymore, and then going on like a whole different journey for like the next 4 episodes, or maybe not. But I think this, like whatever's coming next is going to be kind of different for everyone, because everyone had like these moments where everything was coming out in this episode. So I'm hoping that maybe that'll give people who haven't been seen as much this season a chance to shine and be seen in more storylines.
Yeah, I mean, so many characters, so many great actors. It is inevitable a show like this, and not everyone's gonna get the spotlight, and that's what happens when you have multiple seasons. Maybe it's not as cat heavy, and then we get Lexi. We got a new character in Elliot, which might be in place of McKay's character. So yeah, there is a little bit of pull and tug. So understandable, but maybe these characters can get spinoff one day on HBO Max. We'll see a little specials of their own. But going back to this party that Maddie's having. Nate arrives at the front door. Couldn't care less if Cass was there to open the door, which we all know she just wants this is the slightest attention from him. As we see, Nate gives her Maddie her birthday gift in the form of a necklace, which leads Cassie to just going deeper into the bottle and to having a interesting wardrobe change. Gabriella, we see her going to the bathroom, making a halftime switch, and everyone sees her now, especially Nate. And again, your thoughts on messy Cassie in this moment here?
In her defense, when she came down the stairs, I was like,
yes.
girl, why are we wearing a bodysuit like in the middle of the house? But then she went to the jacuzzi and I was like, okay, so you don't seem as nuts.
Strategize. Yeah, a little strategy there.
Yeah, she had like a way to go, which I mean, reason to be in that. But it's just, I think the whole situation, like I said, for Cassie is going to overwhelm her. So eventually it's gonna come out of her in the way it should. But it's like heart-wrenching to watch because it's one of those situations where we're watching the girlfriend and the mistress. We're not getting just one side. So we're like, oh, like your heart breaks because you don't ever want to be in that situation. But on the other hand, she kind of signed up for it. So I don't know.
And they're two likable characters. You want the best for both of the characters, which Nate is not the best for either one of them. So it's just like, I wish they can get on the same page and get this parasite out of their lives. But Kristen, the wardrobe change, the eyes are on her, and she's just keep going down this dark path of just drinking and wanting Nate so bad that she's willing to just almost embarrass herself in this moment that we're going to get to here in a bit. But Cassie and this wardrobe change, what do you think about it?
She's clearly just, trying to cry for attention because she wants, Nate to see her. And I feel like she's kind of wants a reaction in public, like in front of Maddie or something like that. Like that's what it kind of seems like. But, then when you see from Maddie and Nate's perspective, it sort of feels like they're looking at her like they feel bad for her. Like they're on the same side.
Yeah.
And Cassie's on the out in a way. So I'm like, what is Nate really even doing with Cassie? Because he'll say that he loves her, but maybe he's just saying that because he doesn't want her to tell Maddie, but he really just wants to get back with Maddie. That's what it's sort of feeling like, especially like, when the two of them are outside, just seeing her drunk in the balloons, and they're kind of like, is this like what she's like? The way that he asked that felt like, I don't know this person well, like what is she doing? Like this is embarrassing. And it just makes me think that he doesn't really have as strong of feelings for Cassie as she wants to believe that he does.
Yeah, 100%. And just thinking about it, episode 1, when he approaches her, I'm not a relationship type. And I think that he literally thought it was going to probably be like a one-night stand situation, but he didn't know that she was wanting, obviously we know Cassie's someone that wants love and looking for love. So it was one of those situations where he didn't do his homework, I guess. She fell in love with him, and it was more of just a one and done situation, but that's not the case right now. So going back to Cal here, who's got the Jeep. We got the backstory of the Jeep last week and this whole situation with Derek. And this whole episode, I'm thinking Derek was going to make an appearance, something like the older version of Derek. We got the hallucination sorts of the dance floor. He goes to the bar they went to last week. He puts on the jukebox, and he's getting the dancing with this random this random guy, and inevitably gets kicked out of the bar. But I hate to say it, I kind of felt for Cal a little bit. I wasn't a fan of last week's backstory that we got with him because I didn't feel like it gave us, like, it didn't explain who he is in the present day. It just showed us like what happened to him and Derek, but doesn't explain why he's recording having sex with underage kids. But I kind of felt a little bad for him at that moment when he's getting kicked out of the bar because he really, for the first time in 25 years, since Derek, he's able to be himself, as he's saying in this moment here. But Kristen, your thought on Cal and drinking and driving, which I like Gabriella said, the Nates, they can just they're untouchable. They are plot armor. They can drive and drink and nothing happens to them. I almost thought that they were going to get into a car accident with Elliot and
Yeah.
ruin Jules, but that wasn't the case. But your thoughts on Cal turning back the hands of time?
Oh man, yeah. I mean, I think kind of like what Gabriella was saying before, like you know that he's done all these terrible things and you
Yeah.
are like, what the heck? But then I thought his backstory last week actually was really interesting. I don't think that they really showed as much of like what happened that made him necessarily like
Right.
this, other than that, like,
Yeah.
he clearly like had some kind of connection with his best friend that
Mhm.
was more romantic. And so it makes me think like maybe did that guy die in some kind of tragic way or something that really made it impossible for him to be with him.
Mhm.
But when we got into this episode, like you just like you kind of have like pity for him, I guess. Maybe instead
Yeah.
of feeling bad for him, like it's sort of like a pity in
Yeah.
a way where, um, he's kind of trying to relive that moment that maybe was the one time in his life where he really felt like true love and like himself. And
Yeah.
maybe if he had been able to have that for real back then, maybe he wouldn't be the way that he is now.
Yeah.
Seems like he kind of went on like just this crazy path, and I'm sure, even more stuff happened that has led to, where he is now. But I was also just like, why are these people like letting him just chill here with his bandaged head? Like I thought that guy that came up to him to dance was actually gonna just be like, hey sir, do you need me to call someone for you? Because like
Yeah.
you look injured. And instead he's just like, let me slow dance with you. I'm like, no, 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 no. Like call this
Yeah.
guy an ambulance or something. Like, yeah, it's not a fresh wound, but like what is this man with a huge head wound doing drinking here? I thought maybe
Yeah.
at some point he was gonna like pass out and die, because like I'm pretty sure you shouldn't be drinking like that with a big injury. um and then he just like got all nutty and was trying to wrestle or whatever, and
Wrestle.
he got kicked
Yeah.
out, and I think that he's trying to relive that one time in his life when he really, felt like everything had aligned, and then he kind of lost
Yeah.
all that. So yeah, the pity is real.
That's a great way. I said feeling bad. I think it's pity. I definitely agree, especially getting that flashback last week. But Gabriella, your thoughts on Cal, the flashback to him, well, not flashback, but him getting to his Jeep, going on the road, drinking and driving, going to the bar, dancing with this random guy who he imagines as Derek, as he says, I thought I lost you, which is very interesting that Kristen brings up. If something tragic did happen to him, I hope we get a Derek moment in this season. That would be interesting. I
Mhm.
thought Derek was going to be in the car when he left his family, which we'll talk about here in a second. But your thoughts on Cal turning back the hands in time and going back to this bar?
It's for Cal, I feel like it was just a sense of comfort in knowing
Yeah.
that he would
Yeah.
go there and be who he wanted to be. And that
Right.
was why that was probably his first choice of location to go to like this. But I want to pity him. I do want to pity him. But again, like, how long do you let someone's trauma excuse their actions? It's the same thing
Yes.
with
Yeah.
Rue. Like, yes,
Yes.
her dad passed away, but we're excusing her being a drug addict because her
Yep.
dad passed away, and that's
Mhm.
okay. Like,
Mhm.
it's the scales, and Cal's scales are just not good. You're literally taping yourself having sex with teenagers.
Without people's consent, and yeah, it's just
Yeah,
so much. It's so
I
hard.
really don't care about your backstory, how bad it was. It just is not
You
gonna
know.
not gonna redeem you here for me. I think it's too far gone with Cal for me to pity him.
And just thinking, we were talking about Jules maybe not getting the most cohesive storyline so far. Cat maybe being a little bit forgotten about. I'm so curious on why they're choosing to give Cal so much backstory. If it is inevitably a death in the family, police get involved with this whole tape situation. I'm just so curious on why Sam is focusing so much light on this. Is the only
Mhm.
like adult that's getting the most shine on all the adults. I wonder why it's Cal. Kristen, do you have any? We got 4 episodes left, but so far, is there something you can see where they're going with Cal?
Well, I think what you said sounds interesting of like, well, maybe they are gonna catch him, and this is so that we
Mhm.
have a little bit more background on him, because like
Yeah,
he's about to go to jail or he's gonna die or get into an accident, because clearly
he's looking
doesn't care
for
about
it.
his
Yeah,
life the way he's
yeah,
drinking and driving.
yeah.
So I hadn't really thought about that, but yeah, like when you think about it, it's like a mystery. Like they're not gonna bring in a character if one of them is not a killer, you know, like they're not going to, you know, shine light on this person if like there's not a reason, right?
Yep.
So hopefully, you know, maybe there is a, you know, a specific answer of like, yeah, something's going to happen with the Jacobs family where they're finally maybe going to get what they deserve. Karma's, you know, going to come around for them.
Yeah.
And yeah, and maybe that'll be like the reason why we've learned so much about him. But I did also want to mention what Gabriella was saying, I think, about like the whole thing with Rue also. Like that's a character that I feel like over the course of this season I have found even more unlikable just because I'm like, what is she
Jeez.
doing?
Yeah.
There's no
Yeah.
she says how like she's just an addict. There's no like real reason why. This is just like her personality and like how she is, on top of the fact that she's also lost her father. And so I just feel like I'm like losing the connection of like why I should be caring about her when she doesn't care about herself, I guess.
Yeah.
Um
Yeah.
and I think that's why I find characters like Maddie and Cassie more interesting because like they're not always right, but like they're much more like I think they have more going on and they're more likable and they
Yeah.
just are more interesting to follow. Whereas like, Rue is literally just like, I'm gonna do drugs and like
Drugs,
lay down
more
on my
drugs.
bed and be high, you know, like
Yeah.
it's kind of just like getting repetitive, I think.
I agree, and I mean that's why you cast as Zendaya because that's why we feel for her because it's we love Zendaya and we want the best for her. But Gabriella, just on that note before we move on, of the cowness of this season so far, 4 episodes in, and again we don't know what's going to happen in the rest of the season. But do you think there's a purpose to all this backstory, this pittiness, this tragedy that we're seeing, this Derek relationship that we're seeing? Is something afoot with this character?
For sure.
Yeah.
I can't see why not almost.
Yeah.
And first season was deep dive into a ton of Nate. And I feel like the first season we deep dived into pretty much everyone every episode. That was basically one of the cooler, aspects of the first season that we got so much backstory for so many characters.
Right.
But this season is so heavy on Cal that I'm just
back-to-back
I
episodes.
almost feel like we're so heavy on Cal because Cal is about to be no more. So we're just getting overwhelmed with him before we don't have him at all.
Yeah.
Because I don't know, for me, there would be no other reason. Even if the cops were involved, I almost feel like that would still leave everything open-ended because you'd still leave Nate running rampant on the streets.
Yeah. So the one, you cut one head off and another one appears with the Jacob family. But before we move on, quick shout out to my homie Brandon from Just My Opinion Review saying what's up to everyone. These characters are crazy. I think we can all agree to that. Cassie is nuts. Cal OMG, crazy entertaining episode. Love the thumbs up, everyone. Hashtag Euphoria. Appreciate the love, Brandon. Definitely check out his channel. He's covering Euphoria just like we are over here. And much love and respect there, Brandon. Appreciate you, man. But moving on to this point here, before we get into the big cow moment of the episode, we see again Rue has had enough with Jewel. She's like, take me home. And this is where she goes back into the drug package that Lori gave her. And we're going to get to her in a bit where she has her big moment in church. But I want to go to maybe one of the funnier moments of the episode because there's been a lot of heavy talk so far. And that's the hot tub moment here. Kristen, we see Cassie, sloppy, messy, drunk, stumbles on Nate. And Nate's trying to like, oh, yeah, you're good. You're good. And then leave it to Maddie. It's the tone. It's the definitiveness. And that moment of them going back and forth, Kat getting into the mix, and him just like he's like, oh, I should have left. I should have never won this tub, like I said I was. But your thoughts on this community beat, all topped off with Cassie when we see Maddie says the promises, the apartment, come, living with me in college, the family, the marriage, and then the straw that broke the camel's back. The kids is when she couldn't take it. She couldn't physically take when she said that that they want to have kids. Your thoughts on this whole hot tub situation?
Oh my God. They like really choreographed it super well. Like,
oh my goodness.
The minute that she's falling into the tub, she's falling on top of Nate, like she's leaning on him like very specifically. And then he's kind of like, okay, sit.
Yeah.
They're going back and forth and like, you could just see like her face the whole time they're having this conversation. She's just losing her mind. And, I think we really see like we were saying before, the back and forth of Nate and Maddie and how, one little thing can set her off.
The tone. She called out
just the tone, right? I mean, he should know better.
Right.
He should know better. And then, even, Kat coming
Oh
in and being
man,
like, yeah,
I can speak for myself.
this is what I think.
Yeah,
Okay? Yeah, you're wrong. Um, and I just thought it was so perfect how, like, as, Maddie is naming all these things, like you said, it's not even, I don't even feel like that Cassie was so drunk that she threw up. It felt like she was just sick
physically,
from
yeah,
hearing the lies that he told her, and then the things that he's
exactly.
telling Maddie that she kind
Mm-hmm.
of wishes that he would say to her, and just like spewed from there. And then the way that they were pulling her out of the tub, she's just like, I'm sorry, and they're dragging her out, and like it was like the perfect, like, she's such a good actress,
She's
like,
killing it.
He's
it was
really
so messy and it was so real,
Yes,
like, she's just like, "Maddie, I'm sorry for what I did," and it's like, is that your apology for, like, this or for
right.
something else, you
Exactly.
know?
Exactly.
Um, and, I think I'm sure that the character was probably like, "All right, I see, like, my mom is the one that has to help me here.
Yep.
Nate is coming to
Save
Maddie's
Maddie.
rescue with a
Yep.
towel, and
Yep.
the final moments when she's, like, going up the stairs and he's right there and she's, like, leaning back to kinda be like, "No!" Oh my gosh. Yeah, they're just she's so good at all of
So
this. Like,
great.
it's real,
Yeah.
like, it feels so real when you see her, like, reactions and, the tears and the lip, like, quivering. I'm just like, "No." Yeah.
Listen, Sydney
Wild.
Sweeney has seen her fair share of reality. You say it real, Kristen. It felt real. It felt like I was watching Flavor of Love back in the day. It felt like
Mhm.
Jersey Shore. It felt like all the VH1, MTV classic reality TV show moments. It felt that real to me. And I was eating it up and I was laughing my ass off.
Mhm.
Gabriella, take it away. Your thoughts on this hot tub moment and the comedic beats. You talked about it earlier. This show is so dark, so heavy. We're dealing with addiction and all the stuff that these kids are dealing with. But sometimes when they hit these community beats, it just comes out left field and it hits in a good way, in my
They
opinion. Your
can.
thoughts on this hot tub situation?
Okay, this is great. What do you mean? This is what I mean about this dynamic. Because we are seeing both sides of the dynamic, I feel like I'm in high school with these people. And I feel like I'm at a party in which we know like the popular boy is talking to two new girls and we're watching this all unfold. So it's like
Mm-hmm.
you get
Mm-hmm.
that feeling in your stomach because when
Yep.
Maddie was doing all this, I was like, oh girl. It's like, no, please, like Cassie's gonna flip. It's gonna be a whole thing. So like
Yeah.
I thought her throwing up was perfect because I didn't expect it. I was kind of expecting her to just like throw up word vomit and just let it all
Mm-hmm.
out. Like he wants to have babies with you, but he told me. But this was an interesting way to take it. I'm a little disappointed though, because I'm kind of waiting for it to blow up. Like at this point, I'm kind of like, when's the shoe
Sick and
gonna
time
drop?
bomb. Yeah.
We've been like playing around with this idea now, and now we know they're like very involved with each other. So how long before Maddie figures it out? Because I also think she's not stupid, and we knew that.
I
I'm curious.
almost I almost got the feeling like Maddie knows because she was looking at Cass when she was saying all that, like intentionally looking at her, like
Mm.
and if you rewatch that scene, she was looking at her that whole time. And in the last few weeks, with her dressing like her not answering her phone, she's calling her. I think she knows. I think she's just. I don't know. She loves Nate, and that's her best friend. I don't know if she just. I don't know, Kristen. What do you think about all that?
I'm curious of, like, if her reaction is gonna be different than, like, we think.
Right.
I mean, I don't know if she knows, because I did notice her looking at
Yeah.
Cassie when she got the
Yeah.
necklace too, but I thought that was
Hmm.
more of like a, "Look, best
Look,
friend,
remember.
he's coming
Right.
back, like, I told you he's coming back."
Right. Right. That's a
But,
good point.
like, the whole time, Nate has kinda been like, "She might wanna kill me, but she's going to kill you
Definitely
to
kill you.
Cassie if this happens." And I'm curious, like, if
Yeah.
maybe he's wrong, and I don't know, like, what will really happen, but, like, maybe she'll cut them both off, maybe she'll be like, "Actually, Cassie, like, like, was doing the wrong thing, so, like, I'm, gonna side with my friend," or, you know I don't really know where they're gonna go, but I could just see it being maybe not what they expect, so that, like, keeping everyone on their toes kinda thing.
Yeah, I'm really excited to see what her reaction will be. But a couple more big points before we wrap up. One of the big moments I want to bring up, we do get a little bit of Fez, and quickly, your thoughts, Gabriella, on this situation with Mouse's baby mama. It was inevitable. Someone of we assume Mouse is always kind of the big man in town to a certain extent. When someone like that goes missing, you mentioned Sopranos earlier. There's always someone going to be looking for him. So, is this the rest of Fez's plot in regards to he's been making some really interesting decisions, knocking out Nate, letting a murderer stay under his roof, and now this baby mama's on the loose? Is that something that you're nervous for Fez about this season?
Yes and no. I don't feel like
Yeah,
they would have mentioned it if it wasn't something that was going to come to a head and
yeah,
give as a problem. But then on the other hand, I feel like who has proof that Mouse was really there other than Ashtray and Fez? So
yeah.
could you get away with it? Yeah. I mean, I highly doubt Fez has security cameras in his house. So I
True,
think
true.
he can get away with it. So I'm not that panicked for that situation.
And not to go back to my Sopranos, and when you brought up Sopranos, but what did they do with the body is what I want to know. And in regards to that, and obviously Ashtray being a hothead, and the guy was there, that Faye's boyfriend. I don't know if he let something out, but Kristen, your thoughts on this whole Fez situation, and if should we be afraid for our boy? Can Lexi save Fez from this situation?
I hope Fez is okay because I really like him. I don't want anything bad to happen to him, but I mean, that one guy that came to even say what happened, like, I don't know, I think he could be a little bit of a snitch potentially. So,
Yeah.
like, for all we know, he might have already said, like, "Yeah, it was
Hmm.
Fez," when really it was Ashtray, right? So,
Yeah, Ashtray was the one that hit him with the hammer.
he's gotta protect his brother, you know?
Hmm.
Um, so I hope things will be okay because I really do like Fez. I think he's my
Me too.
favorite guy out
He's
of
our
all the
boy.
guys on the show.
He's our boy for
Really
sure.
want that.
He's
Keep
like so
Fez
he's
protected.
problematic even though he's got all this, like,
Got some stuff.
criminal
Yeah.
activity going on.
Hey, if something happened to Fez, I hope Grandma Fez wakes up out of her coma and lets hell loose if it comes to it. An Ashtray, Fez versus the world. Let's make it happen.
Mhm.
But we get the moment with Elliot and Jules. He tells her the truth, and she finally knows that Rue, which if she didn't know Rue was on drugs, that kind of seems a little silly to me, because especially with her mom being an addict, I think there's enough visual cues for her to kind of know that, but she's maybe just ignoring that. But another big moment. Let's talk about Rue here, who I know we're kind of upset with her, but she has, visually speaking, this moment here with seeing Labyrinth at the church, and I don't know if that's foreshadowing for her funeral or someone else's, but Kristen, your thought on this whole spiritual moment for someone that's not spiritual, for Ruth's special episode. She says she is not a fan of religion just due to the fact that her dad was taken away from her. But I thought it was a very special moment for her, and talking to her dad and apologizing. I don't know if this is her wake up call or if it's some people are theorizing she overdosed again. But just your whole thoughts in this sequence with Rue.
Yeah, I mean, I was thinking maybe she was overdosing, especially going into the promo for the next episode, kind of made it sound like, I don't know, like maybe something's not okay with Rue. So, for me, I was thinking that this was an overdose, especially like going to the church and seeing her dad. Like maybe this was like her moment of, you know, that near death experience, seeing the light type of moment, especially because when she was at home, she kind of like was having a hard time even just standing up. So I was like, is she like this? I don't know. Things are not okay right now. I thought it was really cool that Labyrinth was the gospel singer because
Mm-hmm.
he's just like an incredible
Genius.
singer. And I love that he's been, really curating all of the music for the show. And he's so talented. Like, I'm really glad to see like he's gotten such a big spotlight through Euphoria. And the fact that she was seeing her dad, like, it made me think, like, is this that moment when like you're seeing the white light and like you have that moment of like you're seeing your loved one and like you have to make that
Mm-hmm.
choice of like, I'm going to the bright side or I'm going to stay on earth kind of thing.
Yeah.
So that's what I definitely thought this was like an OD type of moment.
Yeah.
Especially when it seemed, well, I thought it seemed at first like Jules was panicked by hearing that
She's back
she
on.
was
Yeah.
on drugs. And so I thought it was going to be a moment of like, maybe Jules was going to go to her and find her and like try to save her type of thing. Although, obviously Jules is, busy doing some other things with Elliot instead.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, so I really thought this was like an OD moment for her, and I could see the next episode being like they're trying to like save Rue or like bring her back from the other side.
The other side. Gabriella, speaking of the other side, what did you think about this moment here? And is this the wake up call that we've been waiting for Rue, or is this just like that was cool? I want to do this again.
I think that this moment was perfection just because, first
Yeah,
of all, I am a massive, massive Labyrinth fan.
he's a
I think he's
genius.
one of my most listened to artists. Everything he does and he
Hmm.
touches is always good. So this was like anticipated for me in the sense that I had been waiting for a Labyrinth moment. So the fact that I got physical Labyrinth was amazing. And as far as Rue goes, I think we're teetering on the, like, for me at least, I think it's the overdose. And I think it's the overdose
Yeah.
just because there was one clip of Jules getting a t-shirt from Elliot's closet and she shut her phone off.
Mm.
And for
Yeah.
some reason, that particular shot, after I saw it and it finished, in the back of my head, I said, why else would that moment be necessary? Like, she shut her phone off and they went to bed, and we know where we saw Rue last, and it was the same night. So I
Mhm.
almost kind of feel like maybe there is an issue. Maybe the next day doesn't go as planned, and Jules's phone was off.
Mm.
So I kind of feel like that's what we are heading towards, the maybe not the wake up, but just
Yeah.
the final showdown with Rue.
And it's so funny that every time Rue has these bigger moments, last year when she OD'd, it was after Jules left her at the the train station, and now it's this night after Jules was agitating her or what have you. So again, they seem to be good friends, but they just seem to trigger each other to kind of do the darkest stuff that they don't want to get into. So, but I think after that incredible moment, follow it up. What I think is hate to say it because I'm not a fan of Cal, but this was a moment. This was the tea and the moment of him telling all the Jacobs family about their secrets. And Kristen, I don't know where you want to start. Is it the moment where he walks in with that face like he wants to stir up some shit just because that smirk that he had, like he was in there with the mission in mind to call out his whole family? Was it him talking about his past, that he wants to sleep with men and women, and the double standard of his son looking at him? If he was saying, "Oh, I came home and slept with a stripper," but instead he's talking about he was with a man, how that was brought up, and him telling Nate, "You are the biggest regret of my life." Kristen, take it away.
There was so much happening. I don't even know where to begin. I will say it definitely seemed like a cathartic moment for him,
Yes.
where he was
Yep.
just like, I'm laying it all out. This is my double life. I don't fucking care anymore, you know? Excuse my language there. But he's like, I don't care anymore. He's just losing it, peeing on the floor, calling everybody out. But like, why is he calling everyone out? You made your life like this. Like, you didn't have to get married. You didn't have to, you know, have a family like this. You could have gone a different route, right? Like, it just seems a little bit like blaming everyone around him when like nobody said you had to, you
Yep.
know, go into this life, you know?
Mhm.
You always have like a choice. And calling Nate like the worst, like biggest mistake, like I mean,
Hey, it's Nate, right? So you kind of like, I
like,
love
well,
it.
like, why do you think he's like this? Because of how his father has been suppressing
Yeah.
who he really is. And um, it's just like, I mean, that must really hurt to have your parents say like you're the biggest mistake of my life after they sort of like ruined your life, like by
Yeah.
bringing their trauma to you.
Yeah.
I think there were some very interesting things he said about the double standards, about
Yeah.
everyone
Yeah.
having secrets and having their own, things going on in their lives. And,
Mhm.
that's true. But yeah, I think that some of it felt like he was blaming people when really like this is your decision
Yeah.
to be in, to have your family, to, live the life that you've lived instead of being yourself. Maybe that's just like a big lesson of like live your authentic life and don't try to like be fake because you think this is what people want.
Well said. So much great stuff you said there, Gabriella. One of the moments, speaking of, just from a male's perspective, from my end, when he talked about the family, and again, he was blaming the family, but you take some blame of that, Cal. But when he mentioned how in society, the male figure in the house can't be emotional. he's a very emotional guy. He hasn't been able to be emotional. So it was a lot of stuff that I was enjoying that Kyle was saying. Of course, it's just like, why does it have to be that character that I hate so much? But there's a lot of truth there. But I think there was a lot of still some lies in there. Cause like Kristen said, he's trying to find a way to blame them. It's just like, like Kristen said, you didn't have to get married. You didn't have to have kids, but you decided to go the traditional route. But your thoughts on this scene, Gabriella?
I can't feel the pity for Cal. And you know what? The whole Nate thing with what he said to Nate, if this was any other character, I would have said, "Oh my God, that's the worst thing ever." Making your dad hearing that you're from. I mean, look who it's coming from. I think that's where that was my first thing. I was like, well, dude, I mean, if I'm a disappointment, what are we doing here? Because you're not any form of role model.
Yeah.
And then it's also Nate deserved it. I think somebody that he either looked up to, feared, somebody had to speak up and say, like, you are like, this is not it. You're not perfect. You're not even great. So I think it was more of like, well, you needed to hear it. And somebody had to say it, because Nate's character, for me, because he's so aggressive, especially with women, for me, I mean, your dad was kind of right. However, I think Cal's I really think it was mental. I think after Jules, the tape, there was no saving grace. No matter what Nate did, no matter what Marsha did, he was going to lose it.
Which, shout out to Masha, the whole, calling her out with the Facebook fling. That was funny. You were a fox, Martha, back in the day. Aaron, who was just randomly Nate's brother that pops up every now and then. Really interesting internet history that he calls out there. So everyone in the Nate family, everyone in Jacob's family definitely has their double life. But
I was wondering, actually, if you could bring up the comment from Siona about like LGBT characters not necessarily always having a choice. I think that is valid. I wasn't trying to say that, like, because he's gay that he should have done things a certain way. Like, obviously everyone has different situations. I just think in terms of Cal, he's done a lot of bad things. Not the fact that he's part of the LGBTQ community, but just the fact that he's done so many bad things to people is what makes it like you didn't have to go down that route. Obviously, people have had a lot of different experiences, and not everyone can be their true self, for a lot of different reasons, even though that would ultimately be the hope that you could and you could find that. But I think the problem is that Cal has done so many bad things to people, so many despicable things, that it's kind of like, you didn't have to do that. I mean,
agreed. No, I agree. It's a very complicated character.
Very complicated situation.
We talked about where we're going with this character. I don't know, just to wrap up this Cal, and then we'll wrap up this episode. Is this the last time Cal's going to be in the house? Gabriella, was this his going away party? Is he going to go and find Derek and live his life now? Is he going to be open to everyone now? Or is Kyle just going to go back to just, I'm Kyle, I'm the man of the town? Where does Kyle go from here?
I don't think Cal, man of the town, is coming back. I don't think that that's even an option for him, because, again, now you will walk around this town that you swear up and down you felt you owned, and now you don't know who knows your secret. And it's such a bad secret that you're in panic mode everywhere you go. So I don't think that's ever going to be an option for him. For some reason, I feel like maybe is this Cal's last entrance, because he's going to get in that car and maybe not make it this ride. I don't know. But I also think we're missing a major moment with Nate's family, with the smallest brother that's in the pictures. There's a major point missing here, because he took that picture when he left. So we don't even know anything about that child, or what really happened, who that kid is.
Who's that third kid?
Right. We only know Nate and the brother.
Yeah.
We haven't no conversation. The only thing he said was that we all have our secrets, or something like that, holding that picture. So maybe we will find out. But I think it's really odd that he took that particular picture with the smaller boy in it, and we have no idea who that smaller child is at all.
It's a great point. I mean, we know we met last week. He has a sister that we saw. I don't know if his parents are still alive. So listen, I think we got enough of Cal, but there's still some stuff I'm curious about, like you mentioned with that third kid. But Kristen, any final thoughts of Cal? Is this the last that we've seen of the Cal that we thought we knew in season 1, or is this going down a path of death or jail time? Does he know the tape's going to get out there? He's just like, I'm just going to do whatever because my life is just a corner away from being over.
I would go with the latter. Maybe he's kind of like, I don't care anymore.
Yeah.
I'll take my picture of my family and be like, peace out. Like,
Deuce.
I want to see like one final moment of something with him and Derek, whether that's like,
Same.
an end, like, vision of like going to jail or dying or something, and maybe they can have like a reunion in some kind of way, or I don't know. I just feel like he's not alive. I don't know why I feel like that, but I don't think that he's like exists where they could like be together.
Yeah, very interesting because it is, we haven't seen the modern day version of Derek, and he's, he always sees him as that 17, 18-year-old kid. So yeah, I wonder if he is still alive, but I guess more Cal to come, I guess. But wrapping up the episode in a very fashionable, cool, artistic way with the quotes being said of I love you. We see, Lexi continue to do her play. Ethan and Kat are in the car of silence. So I hope that she just cuts ties sooner rather than later. We see Fez, making his prayers to what's to come, the calm before the storm. And we wrap with, what appears for Jules and Elliot, I guess, sleeping together. I don't know if that was alluded to in that scene when him closing the door there. Cassie, surrounded by flowers, reminded me so much of Danny from Midsummer. And it ends with the quote being said, since before we ever existed. So with that being said, Gabriella, the ending, and I haven't seen the trailer quite yet, but what do you hope to see in episode 5 based on what we got in this episode?
I'm hoping that everything starts to come to a head because I feel like we have so many situations that are just open and floating right now. And I feel like we need some action. We need some of these things come to a head. We need some solutions, just because with Elliot and Jules and now they're sleeping together, possibly Rue's addiction, I think has to come to a head because how long can you keep this jig up? And Cassie, the Cassie Flower situation, I thought the shot was absolutely beautiful. Visually, Euphoria always does well. I mean, that crew is so unbelievably talented. But I didn't understand really where it fit or if I was maybe missing something with the flowers. I was like, okay, maybe I'm missing a complete message here. I don't know why it didn't register for me, but I thought it was beautiful. I just didn't know if it made sense for what was going on and everything that was happening.
Yeah, I'm still kind of like the only thing I don't know why I went to Danny, like I said, from Midsummer. I don't know if it's just like how she's feeling her head and just a flower on the outside, but dying on the inside. I don't know. But Kristen, your thoughts on wrapping up the episode, the little character vignettes of we see Elliot in church, Rue still hugging Labyrinth or her dad, and the quote being said with since before we ever existed, with alluding to, what we get with Jules and Elliot maybe being a thing moving forward. But what do you hope to see in next week's episode?
Well, I loved the vignettes. I thought they were really beautiful. Love just like how artistic this episode was. I think going to next episode, I feel like Rue OD'd, and I think it's going to like be like chaos. And I think that maybe some of the vignettes could be foreshadowing things like what does it mean for Elliot, being in that church? Like, is that going to mean something?
Yeah.
And I loved, like you guys said, the visual with Cassie. I thought it was so stunning. I was kind of getting maybe like rose-colored glasses kind of vibes of like,
oh, good call. Yeah.
Liking like she looks so beautiful, but there's like this pain and like maybe does she kind of like enjoy that a little bit where it's just like they like the drama, all these characters, so it's like kind of I thought glamorizing like the tears and the maybe that's what that was, glamorizing a little bit.
Yeah.
But I loved how artistic this episode was, and I thought honestly this was one of the tamer episodes that we've gotten in like the few seasons. So I was like, whoa, wow, okay, not too crazy. I mean, still crazy, but a little tamer than usual.
Yeah.
but this for me really felt like an episode that was like the catalyst of like everything kind of was coming out and like moving forward, like it's just gonna like go full speed ahead of like this is it, like all the drama is gonna like finally come to a head.
Well said. I think you're so right. You know, for the most part, everyone's truths was revealed in this episode. Cal spoke his truth. Jules knows about Rue being back on drugs. And you know, so all that stuff. So I think you're totally right. Moving forward, we're going to see, okay, now that everyone knows the truth, what are the consequences of those actions? You know, Fez with the baby mama being out there, maybe putting the pieces of the puzzle together there. So I think you're so right, Chris. In the next 4 episodes, we'll dive deeper, hopefully more cohesive, because we talked about it a little bit off screen, but just wrapping up the discussion. First 4 episodes of season 1 versus the first 4 episodes of season 2. Do we think that we're going to stick to landing based on these 4 episodes? And which portion of the season where you feel, is this as cohesive as season 1, or is this not? It's a little bit convoluted in some certain extent. Start with you, Gabriella, and then we'll wrap up.
That's a good question. Visually, this season for me is outstanding.
Another
Because
level,
especially if you're someone who appreciates film and TV and the different shots and transitions and all that stuff, and you can really appreciate it. I think this season is really driving that for sure.
Yeah.
But I do think the first season, as far as the characters and where we were going, was making a lot more sense, and the conflicts were making a lot more sense.
Yeah.
And I thoroughly enjoyed the first season of Labyrinth being so heavily involved with his music, because I think the music drove so much of the series and so many of the shots and those memorable moments. His music really drove a lot of it. So I'm a little disappointed that we're on episode 4 and like now we're getting Labyrinth. Now we're getting like those cool sounds that he just comes up with and creates for this. So I'm a little, but the story, I think the stories are good, but I just think season 1 was a little too hard to top, if that makes sense. It's just, how could you top what you gave season 1? And especially because the characters are super different this season and the story is a little slower this season.
No, I agree. I mean, the first 4 episodes last year, I think of the pilot episode was fantastic. Stunning Like Your Daddy was when we found out that Nate was Tyler. You know, Made You Look was a great episode. Shook One's part 2 is still my favorite episode of the series, with the Maddie at the carnival and all that stuff. So same question with you, Kristen. And I think episode 1 of this season might arguably be one of the best episodes of the show, but just comparing season 1 first 4 versus season 2, do you think this season's as strong, or maybe just a little bit not as cohesive as season 1 so far, 4 episodes in?
I think, like Gabriella said, the visuals on this season are like insane. Like I think they've taken it way further, and have just like given us like just like some really incredible artistic choices and visuals and things like that I think rival season 1. But I think in terms of story and costumes and makeup, I think season 1 did a better job with that. Like I really liked how each episode you started off like learning the backstory of someone and then you went into the story.
Focused on their
And I think they've kind of done that a couple times this season, but haven't been consistent. And surprisingly, I think this is one of those shows that like the backstory is very interesting to like learn like how people, you know, got to where they are and things like that. So I missed that, and I would like to see more of that, because I think people want to know like, okay, I want to know a little bit more about how this person got to this point, or like why they are the way they are.
Well said. And I think, not to put an excuse in there, but knowing that the season was interrupted with COVID, as we all know, they were like a day from shooting. And I think Sam even said they kind of had to rework a lot of the season, especially with those 2 special episodes, which I think were going to be maybe episode 1 and 2 of season 2. But there were some, and obviously we talked about Kat maybe having a different plot and McKay being written out in this season. So I think there were some things story-wise that they had to kind of switch up due to the restrictions and the post-production being on a hold. But neither here nor there. I'm still enjoying this show. I'm loving it, what we got so far. I couldn't agree with you all more. The visuals this season. And I think, Gabriella, when you were on the episode 2, you mentioned how he's using film and how it just feels so true and authentic. There's different color palettes than it was, like a lot of purples last year. We got a lot of orange this season. So the visuals this season has been fantastic. I want more Labyrinth soundtrack in this season. Hopefully we get more with him actually appearing in this episode. But I'm really excited for the rest of the show, especially after what we get in this episode. But hey, ladies and gentlemen, that is the conversation tonight. We got 69 people watching us live. Appreciate you all tuning in, especially if you're watching the replay. But Gabriella, Kristen, it has been a pleasure having you both on. What a great discussion. Can't wait to see where we're at by the end of the season and catch back up with you all to see if we get some of these questions that we posed tonight answered. But wrapping it up, starting with you, Gabriella, coming on for the second time. You're a killer. You're a beast. Love your opinions on this show. So happy to have you on, and hopefully we can do more of this in the future. But if you want to let the people know where they can find you again, and when's that next Euphoria TikTok video coming out for us all?
It's Gabriella Angelina on all my socials as always, and the Euphoria TikTok will probably be up by tomorrow. They're always up the day after, and it's all Euphoria content pretty much until Euphoria ends on whatever Sunday that is.
For sure, guys. Again, her links are in the bio. And again, Gabriella, I appreciate you being on. And Kristen, again, it's been a pleasure. Like I said, it's always a great time talking to you, whether it's Marvel, and all the other conversations we've had in the past, and now being able to hear your thoughts on Euphoria is just so great to hear. So if you want to let the people at home know where you're at, what's the next awesome bit of content you have for the people at home?
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for having me. You can check out my content at youtube.com/kaymaldo. That's KAYMALDO, or popcultureplanet.net. And what do I have coming up? Just more Sundance Film Festival stuff dropping. I've got reviews and interviews coming. Just stay tuned.
Definitely, guys. Check her out. Her links are in the bio. There's not a lot of big movies coming out anytime soon that I could think of. So as far as content here, more Euphoria content. There is a Korean zombie show that I finished the other day. All of Us Are Dead, which I highly recommend for all my zombie fans out there. Really great show. This is probably the next Squid Game for Netflix. So keep an eye out for that. We got Peacemaker episodes coming out, the return of Raised by Wolves, Pam and Tommy's coming out this week. So a lot of cool TV shows, not a lot of movies, but we love TV, especially TV shows like Euphoria. So keep an eye out for all that good stuff. But again, for myself, Gabriella and Kristen, you all have been awesome. I appreciate you all. You have a wonderful week, and just say no to drugs like Rue can't do, and be the best version of yourself out there, ladies and gentlemen. You all have a great week.